normally do not do political commentary because I'm not a political being, I'm a spiritual being. But given what's happening, particularly right now, I just got done watching part of a video of the Senate hearings, confirmation hearings on Amy Coney Barrett, as I remember her name is. It's being confirmed for the United States Supreme Court. Okay, and naturally, there's a big puzzle that's sort of attached to what that means in the much larger scope of what's happening on the planet right now. So, numero uno, it's pretty obvious that all the crime families are all being eliminated, taken down. So, as I posted on Snedeker's live chat YouTube channel, essentially what it is that when the girl on the planet, the great living spirit of Mother Earth, chooses to take the glove off and cleanse the planet, then you get the picture on what's happening right now on this planet. Okay? This is a complete, absolute purge, okay, of demons. Okay? There is a natural cosmic order in which, if you think of yourself as a soul, evolves through its coursework by what it learns through a classroom, how to become a self-sustaining energy powerhouse of spirit in the light. Living spirit in living light. You cannot get through the stargates into the heavenly realms unless you have enough spiritual light, which means your light spirit body, your Merkaba. That's a measurement of your coursework, of what you've learned about energy. Okay? So I made a comment a little while ago because on this particular site, they're trying to essentially wake people up. They call them digital warriors, okay? Because they realize that the mass media are bought and sold out because what do? They protect criminal crime families that harvest energy off of humanity that they hold as a slave race. Okay? So part of the reason that I sort of look at this is because when I was a child, when I realized that I had landed in an energy harvesting system, and I'm being told in the public schools, particularly early in childhood, that we have a political system in place that is considered to be one of the greatest living documents, which is essentially the rules or laws by which we live by, which is a U.S. Constitution. So it starts with the Declaration of Independence. So if we stop there and say, okay, so what does it mean to declare our independence? It means we are not dependent on others for our energy. That's the simplest way that we can translate that, which means self-rule, which means we are autonomous beings, which means we grew up in the cosmos. Okay? So we can measure this across the electromagnetic spectrum by our ability, if you will, to know that we have all the energy that we need, because that's what the cosmos is. Energy. Everyone is energy. So when we have learned how to attract more energy naturally through the way that our powerful magnet allows us to attract that energy, then the speed of that wave will grow faster. When you've reached a certain core frequency identity, which is the natural frequency that we vibrate at, that becomes our perception of the cosmos we believe we live in, because we're experiencing the energy that we are, that we're doing it with. That means I don't need any energy from you. We don't need any energy from each other, because we are what that is. So this is why, for example, the first law star nations represent love is the law, which is a frequency vibration, which is why we are autonomous. It is no different than having a mother and a father who has said to their child, you have grown up enough to where you do not need supervision and a planet anymore, or a parent anymore, because you have learned how energy works. You have learned how to master your energy, which is your sexual energy, your emotional energy, your mental energies, your spirit body. It means you have learned how to master the energy field from which we experience all the different energies, which represent the communication signals that we get from the other energies that are communicating to us. So when we think about what's happening right now in a political way, we can begin to realize, particularly when President Trump went to Davos, Switzerland, and he basically threw the gauntlet down and told people like George Soros and all these kings and monarchs who want to rule over others that we are going to declare our sovereign independence from you. And that's when the people in Davos, who were the rulers, said, as Soros said, that Trump and his notion of being independent from us will be terminated in 2020. Okay? So this is one of the reasons why when you look at every single thing that Trump did, the first big one was his Executive Order 13818. No other president in history has ever done that, which essentially means, listen, you commit a crime against a human, you harm somebody, then guess what? We're going to seize all your assets, and you're going to go to prison. Now, in this case, what you begin to realize in the way that they set it up, okay, through the Uniform Code of Military Justice, Title 26, which is known as the Law of Peace, because under international law, that court recognizes that we live in a big cosmos. Therefore, the DNA that is represented by the different bloodline families represents different ET races that are representative of star system nations. So we have a lot of beings who are here that as a result of their bloodline and their genetics actually represent other star systems. That's why there are so many ships in here that are from those star systems. So the question is, when you look at a political body, is it possible for 325 million beings that run different genetic and bloodline family genetics and bloodline, which essentially the blood that they are, through their first mother, are these beings able, okay, to live in peace together? Can they live in harmony together? Because this is a measurement of, if you will, one star family, another star family, another star family, no matter where they come from in the cosmos, can enjoy thriving relationships to build thriving star nation communities. Okay? So again, we're back to scaling up the classroom. So when you sort of break apart the political institution framework, if you will, of the Declaration of Independence, which means you are self-rule, are you capable of self-rule? Okay? Or do you need a prison? Do you need a judicial system so that if you misbehave by harming others, you're going to go before a court and be put in a cage because you're considered to be an animal, a lower animal, which is the lower evolution, which means we have not learned how to manage our energy in such a way that we have all we need in energy because I'm in a state of love and joy, and therefore I don't need to harvest energy off of anybody else by doing harm to them. That's what a first law nation is. Can these other races that represent Star Nation bloodline families reach a state of core frequency identity to be a first law Star Nation family? Which means that the realm in which you occupy, which is the lower realm, which is the corpus juris secundum, which is why that political system was in place that has a judiciary, a legislative, and an executive branch, is used as the means to which, if that process that is in place allows you to truly be free, then your frequency ought to be able to go up, realizing that the predators are gone. And then therefore you will reach a state of higher frequency energy in which you begin to take the chains off, where you're not held captive by a political system at all. You will learn to have become an autonomous unit in which you grow your sovereign spiritual light body. That's what it means to be a first law Star Nation family. So this sort of, how do I put this, undergrids or pulls everything sort of together when you begin to realize in a much larger scope of things why this planet is a classroom. Why it is that Gaia, for example, set up contracts for other star ET races to come in here and have relationships with ascended beings, who are the teachers, the healers, and the peacekeepers here, through which we learn how energy works. Okay? That was the reason why ascended beings through the tribes and the clans were brought in here. Okay? So that the contracts that were in place, because of so many wars that were going on between the other star systems, would end. And the easiest way to be able to do that, if you will, is to learn by picking up the DNA from ascended beings, which have a source divine light connection, from which allows you to be able to raise your core identity frequency up to where you become love and service to others, because you will naturally broadcast the higher frequency spectrum energies of love and joy, and when you are experiencing that, then you are naturally broadcasting that higher frequency energy to others, because you are excited, you are in a state of joy. That means that you want everything to thrive, because anywhere that you go that you're experiencing lower frequencies than that, we're experiencing the lower frequencies of what they're experiencing. We're losing a part of what we are that we acknowledge is being lost in others. So what is the underlying causation of that? Now we're back to the genetics. Now we're back to the trauma. Now we're back to the bloodline families that are holding us captive, because they can't get their frequency up, because they don't have the genetics to do that, because the reptilians are fear-based. They're not love-based. That's why they have to use technology, thinking that because their state of consciousness is not capable of running hyperspeed learning, and that hyperspeed learning in higher frequency density consciousness allows their consciousness to move through hyperspace and hyperdimensional holographic perceptions to move through the higher dimensions. They don't have the consciousness capability to do that because they don't perceive the cosmos in a heavenly realm, because they can't generate any living source divine light through their own soul. So this is why this is the most critical point in time, and the importance, if you will, even though I'm not a political person, that President Trump, if you will, is able to finish the job that he was given, because that's how it works. It's not like there are not other star nation councils that have consulted with each other, because all of the light that is in here, okay, in which we've already won this. Okay? So this is just essentially, well, I guess as they like to say, have a seat, okay, and grab your popcorn and all that. But I think of it on a much deeper level, because just because you know that others have done the work that was required in order to restore essentially this classroom, which means love has always been the law here. And that's a frequency. So I used to suggest a lot of times in the past, well, you can't go, for example, to the state of Hawaii because of all the, when I was informed by Patty Broussard that that was a Draco stronghold. Well, I know that because I live there, which means particularly when you go to Honolulu, I've never been in a more, how do I put it, there were more, it's a demonic infestation. Okay? I've never experienced more demons in geospatial terms in one location more than what I experienced in Honolulu. And so, yeah, of course, they're demons. They feed on you because they can't generate any love. So they do everything they possibly can to drain your battery. It's gone. Now you got to restore your light. So for the average being that doesn't understand how this works, they're going to hold on to that energy. And that energy gets recorded in their DNA time strip. As I mentioned to Snedeker site the other day, when Ghislaine Maxwell apparently was wanting to sort of say she wasn't going to divulge certain information, so I posted up there, I said, listen, all you got to do is take a swab of her DNA, which is a sound and visual recording of her entire life, put it up on a holographic screen and show it to everybody on the planet. Everything that she's ever thought of, everything that she's ever felt, everything that she's ever experienced has already been recorded. Play the recording. The recording is your DNA. That's a record. That's why everything we experience here, because it's a classroom, is recorded. And it's on the Akashic record. So that's how we measure your coursework. Our coursework. Because I'm still a student. Okay? So how much light do you have left? So how much what we call spiritual fat and growing your sovereign light body is what allows us to go through stargates, to experience more of what is out there, which is more what love is. That's the heavenly realms. So that means when you've learned to grow your spiritual light body to get through the stargates, you'll experience the higher hyperdimensions. That's why this classroom is set up in the lower realms, lower density. Because if you're wanting to get to the higher density consciousness realms, you have to vibrate your way there. Okay? So you have to have enough spiritual sovereign light based on learning how to attract more of it will allow you to experience more of it. Okay? And that's basic logic. So that's the purpose why I put my stuff up here, is because of the critical importance of the timeline that we're on, because it was secured. So we want to essentially wake everybody up to realize that, listen, the reality that we came from, the world that we were experiencing that was run by demons, that was energy harvesting off humanity, is over. everything that is occurring right now is towards that process, which means liberating the consciousness of humanity. So its state of consciousness can rise in density, which means you're no longer being held captive. When a being realizes it's no longer being held captive, you are free, then what do you think is naturally going to occur from that? All of the energies that we're holding on to, which relates to electrical resistance, is no longer in resistance. All those electrons in the oxygen will ignite. Your cells and your pH go up. You begin to realize, wow, this energy feels good. I'm not being harvested any longer. Where did all the energetic vampires go? Where did all the demons go? They're gone. That will allow for humanity to thrive. Okay? So this very much is separating the students from the demons. Okay? Those that are seeking higher spiritual knowledge to learn how energy works so you can learn how to master your sovereign light body and thus grow more light as you go. And that allows us, through our coursework, to experience the higher heavenly realms. It's as simple as that. So obviously, the events that are unfolding now is towards that purpose. So have a great day. Bye now.